Nicki Minaj has had an interesting time as an artist since the release of her fourth studio album, Queen, that released in 2018. Now, I could dwell on what happened with Queen and why it didn't achieve as much of success as it could have, but I would like to move forward and maybe name some things that Nicki could do for this next era to be an even bigger success than Queen was. First things first, I think that Nicki should leave Kenny at home. I know a lot of people hate him and he's starting to get like his own hate train, which I think is a little weird, but anyways, he makes a lot of people angry and a lot of people are always dragging Nicki for her husband and what he did 25 plus years ago, which doesn't define him, and I think a lot of people don't know him or his situation, so you can't really talk about something that you weren't there for, don't know the full story on, because it hasn't even really been released from his point of view yet. But I do think it's best that she doesn't go everywhere with him like as much as she does. And I don't think that she should show him off as much as she does currently. I think that if Nicki were to keep her private life, a little more private, then she wouldn't have to deal with the internet and all the criticism that he gets. And she would get a lot less criticism as well from the people who are judging him and then attacking her for his past actions. Secondly, I believe that Nicki needs to continue her 2020 success with her makeup and hair. In the past 2 years, Nicki's had some questionable makeup and hair looks that hasn't always been the best, and it has caused her to get dragged a lot, like at the BET Awards or at the EMA. If she wants her next era to be more of a success than her last, I think that her looks need to be unclockable. I think that for some of her looks, people drag her like, oh, what is this hair? What is this makeup? And it just makes her image look bad. And those are the pictures that blogs use, where as if she was to have her face beat and her hair laid and just looking bomb, there's not much to clock. And it's people are just now searching for something to say, whereas it's you're easily clockable, and I don't want her to be clockable because people are gonna feel like they could try her when they cannot, because she's Nicki Minaj. So far in 2020, we've seen quite a few looks from her and they've all been really great, so I'm hoping she continues down this path of amazingness with her looks. On top of just looking good, I think that Nicki needs to go out and step out and do more things. By that I mean going to events, going to radio interviews, podcasts, and things like that. I think that'd be really good for her. I feel like Nicki knows that she's an A-list celebrity who has a huge fan base, so sometimes she feels like she doesn't have to go hard on promoting a song or album, and she just feels like she could do it on Queen Radio. But I hope that she knows that that's Queen Radio is not enough. Yes, it's good promotion, but it's not enough promo, and she should do other people's shows to get her stuff more popping. For example, when Nicki was promoting Bev, the second single from Queen, she didn't perform it live anywhere, and there was just such a lack of promotion for that song, as well as a couple others in the Queen era and after the Queen era. And I feel like Nicki just needs to be more consistent with her performances, as well as stepping out to events, radios, podcasts, stuff like that, and just being more social with people, because people begin to see her more and interact with her a lot more than they already do. And in order for this next era to be as big as I know it can be, I think that Nicki needs to stop dropping music at random times and on time when she drops her music, not hours later, not hours before. I think she needs to drop at the exact time the tracking period starts for Billboard, which is Thursday night at 12 a.m. For example, Chun-Li, which was the lead single from the Queen album, was released on a Thursday with only 11 hours of tracking, and it ended up debuting number 92 in the Billboard Hot 100, which is really good for only 11 hours of tracking. That's super rare and unheard of. Only really big names can do stuff like that. But the next week ended up shooting up to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 with the full tracking week, when it's if you think about it, Nicki Minaj literally could have debuted probably number 5 or something like that if she would have just dropped it at the right time instead of the day or hours before. You're just messing up your sales and your tracking time for Billboard, so it makes it look bad. It's also a little confusing because most of artists drop their music at the start of the tracking period, and she didn't, so it's a little bit of a messy release. Another example, which is yikes, is Nicki Minaj's latest release. It was released on a Friday, but the song was released 4 hours late after the tracking period had already started, meaning the song lost hours of tracking time, which is important because when you release something, you want every minute of tracking time possible. The most frustrating case I think I've seen with Nicki is when she released the Queen album late and the album lost 12 hours of tracking. When you release something as big as an album or a lead single or any single, you want to have the most amount of time tracking possible, and it'll make your first week sales look higher if you release it on time versus late and people are confused what time is it coming out. Having a more clean release leads to better sales. On top of releasing songs on time, I think that Nicki needs to drop a music video every time she releases a single. She needs to release the music video the exact same time she releases a song, so that way it has a really strong first week. I think at times, like with Chun-Li and Barbie, think she's waited a while, and it makes people be like, she waited a while, and people weeks later aren't searching for the video. Versus like when you first drop it, everyone's like, oh, let me go listen to it, let me go watch the video. Weeks later, not everyone's like, oh, let me go watch the video. It's like when you drop something weeks later, it's like, oh, like now you have to push it even more because a lot of people didn't know that there's a video to it. So when you drop something the first week, it should have a video, and it'll lead to a very strong week and debut higher and have more sales, so the song gets a stronger push just from the beginning. There are a few other minor things that I would change, like having different collaborations. I think that Nicki is such a versatile artist. She should have an array of collaborations to choose from, and that'll be on her album. But those are just like some personal preferences. I just think, and in general, these are some things that she could do to make her next era a lot more successful. So that concludes today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. If you guys agreed with anything, leave that comment. What do you think about Nicki Minaj? Anything like that, leave it down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.